Welcome everyone to the webinar. I'm joined today by Orla and Drew, our audio application specialists, and we're here to cover everything you need to know in Sibelius to allow you to teach music in and outside of the classroom. We'll give you an update on the capabilities of the product line, and it's not just about giving schools, teachers and students discounts on our software. It's a holistic solution around the whole of the product line that we're excited to tell you about. If you have any questions during this live session, please enter them in the comments section below. Sibelius, at the time of this webinar, is available on Windows, Mac, iPhones and iPads. You will have seen the recent announcement around the availability of Sibelius on Android devices, and it's coming really soon. This is the same app we released in 2021 on iPhones and iPads, and it will be available on Android phones and tablets too. Chromebook support will be added over the summer, well in time for the new school year in September. We'll go through this and all the education-related features in Sibelius on desktop and how it ties in with Sibelius Cloud Sharing to distribute scores to students on any device. Just before we get into that, we're going to go through the more practical side of things. Sibelius is available in a number of ways to support both on-prem licenses for computers in school and a wider license to allow you and your students to use the school license on their own device. For on-prem use in school, Sibelius is available as a perpetual or subscription multi-seat license. We have a license server that hands out licenses on the fly and can scale up to cover all the computers you have in your lab or around your campus. To allow your students and other staff members to have their own license of Sibelius to use on their own devices, we have team licensing. This subscription license is owned by school, allowing you to hand out licenses to individuals. It's really flexible and allows you to have complete control over who has a license and when. Each license is assigned to an individual email address, so each user has their own entitlement of Sibelius, allowing them to download Sibelius on any device. They log in and go. You stay in control of the licenses too, so as students graduate and staff leave, you don't need to chase them up to hand the license back. You can simply reassign the entitlements to the incoming class. Sibelius is free. Even if your school doesn't have a license yet, there's nothing stopping you from using Sibelius, as there's a free version. Sibelius First is feature limited, but a great way for students to start with. It runs on Windows, Mac and iOS, and soon Android, just like Sibelius Ultimate. It's good for you to know the commercial license of Sibelius we supply to schools, staff and students is the fully featured version of Sibelius, Sibelius Ultimate. We don't want the student's creativity or a teacher's ability to teach music limited by the feature set, so you get everything. So without further ado, let's get into the fun part, the demos. So I'll hand over to Orla.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for joining. Before I jump into some of the bigger features, I said I'd just run through some of the basics for getting started with Sibelius, just for anyone who's never used the app before. When you first open Sibelius, you'll be presented with a quick start menu. Within here, you can choose from a range of different instrument layouts for solo instruments, marching bands, trios, quartets, sextets, different vocal layouts, lead sheets, and then even larger ensembles for orchestra as well. Once I select one, I can then change between landscape and portrait, adjust my house style, add or remove instruments, choose a time signature, pick a tempo, choose a key, and then even add a title. My name is composer, and there's other information we can add as well. Once I hit create, Sibelius is going to lay this score out for me, ready to get started. At the top of our window, we've got our ribbon. So this is essentially laid out to take your score from start to finish. So for example, your home tab is going to have your basic editing, adding or removing of instruments, adding or deleting bars. And then one cool thing to note is on your right-hand side, you've got your plugins and your commands. These are the ways you can make your workflow quicker and make things that bit easier to do. Note input covers all the ways you're going to want to add notes to your score. And then notations is going to be things, all the additional stuff you want to add. Key changes, time signature changes, different lines for dynamics, articulations, slurs, things like that. There are a few different ways you can add notes to your score. You can do it manually using the keypad. So if I select a note value, then find where I want to place the note on my score, you've got your little shadow notes to show you exactly where you are, and then just click. If I have a numpad on my keyboard, I can use this to adjust the note values. So if I press 3, that'll change to quavers. And then if I have a MIDI keyboard attached, I can play the notes directly on that. Change it to crotchet, change it to dotted minim. You can also record. So if I select a bar and press this record button, it's going to give me a bit of a count in, and then I can start playing directly from my keyboard. If you make any mistakes, it's okay. You can use Renotate Performance, which works essentially like a quantize, and then Sibelius will analyze what it thinks you meant. For adding things like dynamics, expression, techniques, there are also quite a few shortcuts that you can use to make this process faster. If I select a note and press S, it's going to add a slur. H will add a crescendo. By pressing Command E on Mac, you can bring up an expression menu, so I can choose from a range of different dynamics and different expressions to use in my score. Command T is going to be your techniques. So if you want to add a pizzicato, arco, you're going to use Command T for above your notes. Command L is going to add your lyrics. One of the coolest things we've added recently is the ability for Sibelius to analyze the harmony in your score to determine your chords. So if I press Command K, we'll see that Sibelius has added D above this note. So I've got 2 Ds and an F sharp. So Sibelius has decided the most likely chord for that would be D major. So by learning your input methods and some shortcuts, it makes the process of getting music into Sibelius super easy. Now to take a look at some features that are particularly useful for education. First up, we've got the ideas library, which I can find in command search or press Option Command I to open. This comes with over 2,000 snippets of music that I can use in my scores. I can search these based on genre, key, instrument, and even mood. These can be also auditioned before bringing them into your score. So if I select one and then hold down the left button on the mouse, it'll play it back for me. Once I find one I like, I can select a bar in the score and then just hit Paste Idea. What's really cool about this is Sibelius will automatically adjust the key. So my initial key is D major. This snippet is minor, so it's adjusted it to B minor, which is the relative minor of D major. You're not limited to the ideas that are included with your library. You can also add your own. So if I reset and then select a couple of bars in my score and press Shift I, it's going to add this into my library so that I can use it later on. You can adjust the info for these, so I can name it. You can give it a color based on the instrument, mood, genre, and then all the other information is inputted for you. This is great for building a library of your own ideas that you can come back to whenever you want. Next up, we've got the worksheet creator. You can find this by going to the File tab and down to Teaching. The worksheet creator comes with over 1,700 pre-made worksheets, exercises, songs, repertoire that you can provide to students or use yourself. If you want to create your own, there are also templates that you can choose from. And then within the included worksheets, you can narrow down based on the size of group, how it's completed. You can search for a specific worksheet. And then you can narrow this down based on different categories, music theory, composition, repertoire, things like that. The really amazing thing about this is once I have a worksheet created, I can then share it via URL with students so they can either print it or download it to use on their own devices. With Avid Link connected, you'll be able to get access to the cloud sharing dashboard where I can determine whether I want it to be printable, downloadable. So I've sent this link over to Drew, who's now going to show how this is going to look in your web browser and also how you can download it and complete it on any device.
Thanks, Ola, and hi to everyone on the webinar. I hope you're enjoying it so far. So I've just got my iPad Pro sitting next to me, so I'm just going to switch my camera over and I can show you everything that you can do on Sibelius using a mobile device. So the first thing I'm going to do is paste the link that Ola shared with me into my Safari web browser. And as you can see, the worksheet has appeared here and I can play that from the start. Or I can use the transport down the bottom to scroll around to different locations in the worksheet and play some music. And I can page to different locations in the worksheet. So this is a read-only worksheet, so I can't actually make any changes to anything in the web browser. But I think this is a great solution for any teachers that want to send a student a piece of music to review, perhaps even practice a piece of music. I can think of examples of a teacher that wants to send someone maybe learning some guitar, some music, and they can just learn that straight off the iPad. They don't need to own Sibelius to actually see that piece of music. And should there need to be any changes made to that piece of music, the teacher can make those changes in Sibelius and then just upload those, again, share the link, and the student can hit the refresh button, and any of those changes would happen live in that piece of music. So, as Ola mentioned earlier, I can print this score if I wanted to, and I can also download that. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to download this worksheet onto my iPad, and then I'm going to open it up in Sibelius for mobile. So there we go, it's now downloaded onto my iPad, and if I open the files, go to my downloads, here it is, available in Sibelius for mobile. So when you open Sibelius on the iPad for the first time, it will launch Sibelius first, which is the free version of Sibelius on the mobile device. And if you do have a current support plan or a subscription, you can just go over to these three dots at the top right of the iPad and press Manage Subscription. And if you log in with your Avid credentials, you will then be able to get all of the extra features that are part of your support plan or subscription. So let's have a look at this on the iPad. You can see that it's very similar to the web browser. I do have a play button at the top here, and I can play from the start. I can select another bar and play from here. I can move around the score, I can zoom in and play from other locations. It's that easy. So let's go and start adding some notes to this first few bars here on this worksheet. So I'm going to use my Apple Pencil. If you've got a keyboard for your iPad, you could use that as well, or you could just use your hand and start adding notes manually like that. Okay, so I'm thinking for a melody that's going to complement these first two bars. I think I need to do something a little bit higher here, so I'm just going to select a crotchet and start putting in these notes. And should I have made a mistake, I can hit the undo button and go back and do that again. It's that easy. Okay, so let's hear that from the top and see if it sounds okay. It's not too bad. I'm sure Orla's going to critique that for me. So what else can I do with Sibelius for iPad? So let me just close this little keypad here. Perhaps I want to add some expression to this, some lines, some crescendos, diminuendos. So how would I go about doing that? Well, first, let's say select a few notes. Let's go up to there, and I'm going to hit this plus icon. And from here, I've got all of these different things that I can add into my score. So I'm going to tap the lines and go crescendo. And there we go. We've added a crescendo onto our score. Maybe when we want to add a diminuendo somewhere. So same thing. I'm going to select these few bars. Maybe just to here is okay. And then diminuendo. It's that easy. So what else could I add? Maybe I want to add some chords, just to have a few chords at the top of this stave, just to show what chords I want to play with this. So I'm going to select this bar here, and I'm going to go to the search icon up here and type the word chord. And you can see these are all the search options that Sibelius has given me for the word chords. So you can see here I've got chord symbol, and I'm going to tap that, and it's given me a C here. Now let's tap another bar and do the same thing. So you may notice these three dots that are above this chord. Well, this is a very interesting thing that Sibelius has, which is chord suggestions. So it's saying that there is a high confidence that this bar should be in A minor. And if I tap here, there is a low confidence that it's an A minor 7th. So we're not going to use that one. Let's go back to the A minor. And then I'm going to tap another bar and add another chord. And then for the last bar, let's add one more chord here. Brilliant. So as you can see with Sibelius, for the iPad, I can add notes, I can add expression, I can add some chords, I can play that back. And if I had anything else I wanted to add, I could go in here using the search icon and look for those things. I could add additional expression here. I could add some instruments if I wanted to. And then I can do things like print my score. If there was any additional parts, I could look at the difference between those parts. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to save this by going to the top left and hitting save. And that's going to save to my iCloud. And I'm going to send that back to Orla, and she's going to review that for me. So back over to you, Orla.
Thanks, Drew. Once I've opened up Drew's Sibelius file, I can then use review mode while I make comments and mark his work. Review mode allows you to view and play back a Sibelius score without fear of changing anything. On the bottom right, there is a button to quickly lock the score. You'll get a pop-up to tell you you're in review mode and all other editing features are disabled. Let's have a quick listen to Drew's melody. And now we can add some feedback using the Review tab. We can annotate, which allows us to draw on the score using our mouse. We can add comments at specific points in the score. And you can even highlight notes and sections. You can even create different versions and export a log listing all the differences between them. And compare them using the compare window. So review mode is a really great resource for teachers who want to mark students' work without the need to print. Hopefully by going through the whole process of creating a worksheet, sharing the links with students so they can open in their browser and download and complete it on any device, and then shared back with the teacher for review, shows how flexible and collaborative a tool Sibelius can be for education. Now I'm just going to pass it back to Sam, who's going to give us a quick recap on the licensing options. Thanks.
Thanks, Ola. Thanks, Drew. That was great. So to quickly recap, there are two types of licenses for schools. There's a multi-seat license for your use on-prem, and there's a team license where you can hand out a license to individuals. Both are packed with features. Everything comes with the lesson plans you've just heard about, the ideas feature, the ways to distribute music, and anybody can use it on any device. So we're now going to switch to some Q&As, questions that have been coming in during the call. So Orla, over to you to go through the questions.
Thanks, Sam. So we've had a couple of questions come in repeatedly, so I thought we'd address those first. First up, I've got a multi-seat license of Sibelius already. Can I switch to Teams?
Okay, I'll take that one. Yes and no. So if you've got a current subscription of a multi-seat license, you can't switch over to a team license. So you need to wait until the end of that. But the chances are your situation might be quite different. You might have older versions of Sibelius. So when you get a team license, you start a new subscription. So you can't switch from a network license to a team license. But the chances are you're going to need a bit of both. So on-prem, you might have your lab with 12 computers and you can have Sibelius installed there and the license server can be handing out all the licenses. And then you're going to have students and teachers with their own devices bringing them in. So a year or so ago, we halved the price of the licenses to make them more affordable, because we realized that you're probably going to have a combination of on-prem and off-prem licenses. So it's much more affordable to get up and running. And so you can have a team license that covers the devices that people are bringing in themselves, but also you can have an on-prem license of Sibelius that's running through the license server and so on with a network license. So yes, a bit of both.
We've also had a couple of questions relating to subscription and perpetual licenses. So one of them here is, I have a perpetual Sibelius 6 license. Do I need to switch to subscription, or can I upgrade my license and stay perpetual?
So I can answer that one. So we have a couple of flexible options for you. If you want to keep your perpetual license, yes, you can just upgrade your perpetual license and move to the latest and greatest version of Sibelius, which is Sibelius Ultimate 24.3. Or if you want to move to a subscription, you can also do that as well. So depending on what is best for your needs, we have a flexible license method for you.
And just to chime in there, so the upgrades will keep you on your multi-seat license you've got on-prem. So then you can pay per seat for those upgrades. And then if you want to use a team license in conjunction with that, then you can at the same time. So then you can have the latest version running on absolutely everything but two different license types.
Next up, we've got, at my school, the students supply their own device. What is the best license for us?
So that one again is a team license. So you'll be able to subscribe to the number of seats that you need for everybody. So that's your students and staff who are bringing their own devices. And then you get an admin console. And in that admin console, you upload the email addresses for your users and staff and students. And then you assign a license for Sibelius, an entitlement to Sibelius to everybody. And they get an email inviting them to get up and running. And once they click the link in that email, they get their own My Avid account. So they go to my.avid.com. And then in there, they can actually see their own entitlement to Sibelius. And it's just as though they bought it themselves. So it's within all their list of products, and there's Sibelius, and there's all the downloads for Windows and Mac. And it links off to the app stores as well. So it doesn't matter which device they have, whether it's a Windows laptop or a tablet of any flavor, they can come in, they can have Sibelius ready for class, and they can go home and then do their homework and bring it back in. So it's pretty flexible, excuse me, it's pretty flexible and can handle all those scenarios.
And Sam, how much does it generally cost per Teams license for the schools themselves?
Team licenses are $30 per seat per year. So per month, that's about $2.50 or so per month per user. So it's really affordable. So if there is budget constraints, there's Sibelius First that can run on any device. And what you get when you install Sibelius is Sibelius First. It's the same application, and Sibelius will run with whichever license you log in with. So you open Sibelius, and on mobile it runs in Sibelius First, and you simply log in with your team license, and then it'll unlock all the features to Sibelius Ultimate. Same on Windows and Mac. You start Sibelius, and the entitlement that you activate it with, it unlocks those features. So you don't necessarily need a license of Sibelius for everybody if they're just going to be opening scores for playback or annotation. But if they're going to be starting to write music with more than 4 instruments, then that's where you need a full license of Sibelius Ultimate. So yes, it's $30 per seat for a team license. It's very similar pricing for upgrades as well. So if you've got an older version of Sibelius on a network or a standalone license, a multi-seat license, then it's $29 per seat. So we've made those prices much more affordable than they were over a year ago, to allow you to have flexibility, so you can run licenses on-prem and you can run them on your own devices as well.
Amazing, thanks. Is there a free version of Sibelius that people could try out before they buy?
Yes, absolutely. So as covered earlier, so Sibelius comes in 3 tiers. For education, it really only comes in 2 tiers. There's Sibelius Ultimate that's got everything, and for free, there's Sibelius First. That's limited to 4 staves. But Sibelius First is pretty powerful. It can actually open any score. So if you've got homework of a full symphony orchestra and tell people to go and analyze it, they can open that file in Sibelius First. It's going to open up in read-only mode, and actually it's called review mode, where you can annotate on the score with a stylus, or you can add comments. And then you can navigate it, you can play it back, you can do everything you can just to review the score if you've got Sibelius First, and that's the free version. If you've got Sibelius Ultimate and you've got a license, of course, that file opens up and it's all unlocked, and you can do whatever you like with it. But yes, to get people up and running, there's a really nice, affordable version. It's free, and you can get that from avid.com/Sibelius.
Amazing. And finally, where do you both think is the best place for people to find out and learn more about all of these options in Sibelius?
So the best place to get any information on Sibelius is just go to the Avid website, which is avid.com/Sibelius, and you can see where you can download Sibelius First and start trying it for the first time, and comparing what options are available and what's best for you and your school.
Absolutely. And we've got a dedicated education page as well. So when you're on that website, hover towards the top, and there'll be a link to a dedicated education page where you can find out about different licensing and how to use cloud sharing to distribute scores, and everything we've gone through on this webinar.
And we've also got a wide range of tutorial videos for anyone starting out, and it takes you through all the basics and moving through the tools in Sibelius.
Fabulous. Well, thank you very much. Is there anything else coming through the questions, Orla?
No, I think that's pretty much it for now, but for anyone who has any further questions after this, they can reach out to us and we'll get them answered.
Fabulous. Okay, thank you, Orla, and thank you, Drew. I hope everyone's enjoyed the webinar. We'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.